वेरी गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। कैसे हैं सब लोग? इन द लास्ट क्लास वी हैव completed till 12 subsection 10, that is service supplied on the board a conveyance. Now we are starting 12 subsection 11. ठीक है। Telecommunication services, what is the place of supply? Now in the telecommunication services we can divide in following part. If the telecommunication service is fixed telecommunication landline, leased circuit, internet-based leased circuit, or cable or dish antenna, where something will be installed, where the telecommunication line, leased circuit, or the cable connection or the dish antenna will be installed for the receipt of the services. In that case, that location of such installation would be the place of supply. If the mobile connection is the postpaid connection, then definitely you have the billing address. The company have the billing address. Accordingly, the place of the supply would be. Then location of the supplier, the service, if the address is not available. If address is not available, then LOS would be the place of supply. Then if it is a prepaid mobile connection, internet service, or DTH service, where the recharge coupon, voucher, netpack, etc. is available. And if the service is provided by the selling agent, reseller, or the distributor, then address of that particular person. If it is being service supplied by the person to the final subscriber directly, location where the prepayment is being received. Prepaid service, then the payment for which is made through internet banking. Like nowadays we are seeing everything will be the online. Everything is online. So the location of the recipient of the service in the record of the supplier. In any other case, the address of the recipient as per the record of the supplier, or if address is not available, then location of the supplier. If the lease circuit is installed in more than one state, if the lease circuit is installed in more than one state or UT, and consolidated amount is charged for supplying that service, the place of the supply is deemed to be each of the respective state or UT in proportion to the value as per the contract. And if contract is silent, then in that case, the value is determined as per the rule. What is the rule? In the absence of the contract between the supplier and the recipient, the value of the service supplied is determined in accordance with the rule 6. What is the rule 6? The rule 6 says that in case of the circuit between 2 points or the places, the starting point or the place of the circuit and the end point or the place of the circuit will invariably constitute 2 points. Let's read the example. Example number 48. A company T installed the leased circuit between Delhi and Mumbai offices of the company C. The starting point of the circuit is in Delhi and the end point of the circuit is in Mumbai. Hence, one point of this circuit is in Delhi and another in Maharashtra. The place of the supply of this service is the Union Territory of Delhi and State of Maharashtra, the service shall be deemed to have been provided in 1:1. Now, in case an intermediate point or the place of the circuit will also constitute the point provided that the benefit of the lease circuit is also available at that intermediate point. What is the example? A company T installed circuit between Chennai, Bangalore and Mysuru. The starting point of Chennai and the end point is Mysuru. The circuit also connects Bangalore. Hence, one point of this circuit is in Tamil Nadu and the 2 point is in Karnataka. The place of the supply of this service is the state of Tamil Nadu and 2 point in Karnataka. So 1:2 will be the ratio. Third example, the company T installed the lease circuit between Kolkata, Patna, Guwahati office of the company. See, there are 3 points in this circuit in Kolkata, Patna and Guwahati. 1 point each of this circuit is therefore in the West Bengal, Bihar and Assam. The place of the supply will be divided in 1:1. Now, next section 12, subsection 12, it talks about the place of the supply of banking company, financial institution, other financial services, including stock broking, to any person, whether registered or not registered, doesn't matter. The location of the recipient of the services in the record of the supplier is the place of supply. So, prima facie, LOR would be the place of the supply. If address of that recipient is not available in the record of the supplier, then LOS would be the place of supply. Insurance services, the place of the supply will be LOR when the service has been given to the registered recipient. If it is B2B, then LOR, and it also says if it is B2C, then also LOR. Why? Because we know that in this category of the services, address would always be available with the supplier. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि इंश्योरेंस किया और उसका एड्रेस भी नहीं मालूम. It cannot be. So in both the cases, they are saying location of recipient in the record of the supplier. Okay. So we are not reading the example. Now the last is advertisement company. Please note one thing, that recipient should be government. For applicability of section 12 subsection 14, the recipient should be either central government or state government or statutory body or local authority, etc. Are saying each of such state or union territory where the advertisement is broadcasted, run, played, disseminated. Each of that state. Now we know if this service has been given at more than one state, then it says that this would be apportioned according to the contract, and if the contract is silent, then according to the rule. Which rule is there? Rule 3 is there. And this is very, very wide rule. It is covering every type of the possibility of advertisement. Suppose advertisement has been given to the publication or given in the newspaper, then amount payable for publishing the advertisement in all the edition of the newspaper or publication which are published in each state or union territory. They are saying advertisement through printed material like pamphlet, leaf, diaries, calendar, t-shirt, etc. Amount payable for the distribution of the specific number of the material in each state. Advertisement in the hoarding other than those in the trade. Amount payable for the hoarding located in each state. Advertisement on the train, then the ratio of the length of the railway track. Advertisement back on the utility bill, oil bill, gas bill. Then amount payable to each state or union territory for the advertisement on bill, pertaining to the consumer having the billing address in each of the respective state. Oh my God. Advertisement on railway ticket, then they are saying ratio of the number of the railway station. Advertisement on the radio station, then amount payable to such a radio station which by virtue of its name is part of each state or UT. Advertisement on television channel, then amount attributable to each state or UT calculated basis the viewership of such channel in each state or UT, which shall be derived as under. Viewership can be ascertained from the channel viewership figure published by the broadcast. Figure for the last week for a given quarter is used for the calculation of viewership for the succeeding quarter, where the channel viewership figure relate to the region comprising of more than one state or UT. The viewership figure for the state or UT of that region is calculated in the ratio of the publication of that state. The ratio of the viewership figure for each state or UT so calculated when applied to the amount payable for the services shall represent the portion of the value attributable to the dissemination. If advertisement has been given in the cinema, amount payable into the cinema hall or screen in a multiplex in each state or UT. Advertisement on internet, it is deemed that such services provided all over India. Then they are saying amount attributable to each state or UT calculated basis the internet subscriber in each state, which shall be derived in the following manner. Internet subscriber can be ascertained from the internet subscriber figure published by the TRAI. Figure of the last quarter of a given financial year will be used for calculating the number of the internet subscriber for the succeeding entire financial year. Where the internet subscriber figure relate to the region comprising of more than one state or UT, subscriber figure shall be calculated in the ratio of the population as determined in the latest census. The ratio of the subscriber figure for each state so calculated when applied to the amount payable of the service shall represent the portion of the value attributable to that state. Advertisement through SMS. Amount attributable to each state shall be calculated on the basis of telecom subscriber in each of the state or UT. How you will calculate the telecom subscriber? Telecom subscriber in a telecom circle can be ascertained from the telecom subscriber figure published by the TRAI. Again, same figure for the given quarter will be used for calculating the succeeding quarter, where such figure relate to the telecom circle comprising of more than one state, then it will be arrived at the, it will be a portion between the state as per the population ratio. I'm skipping that these all example which has been given for above. Now by this, I have completed section 12. Now, if suppose you tell me Cadbury has given the advertisement contract to XYZ Limited, and that Cadbury is advertising one state is Delhi, one state is Maharashtra, one state is, let's say, Punjab. Now tell me, and total contract value is 10 lakh. There is no, the total value is 10 lakh of the particular service. XYZ is raising the tax invoice of 10 lakh rupees. Now please tell me, will it be a portion between Delhi, Maharashtra and Punjab? Will it be a portion between Delhi, Punjab and Maharashtra? It is not the vast. If you actually see now, it is very simple. Try to read 2-3 times. It will be remembered. Most of the apportionment is based on the logical concept. XYZ has received the contract from Cadbury, registered in Maharashtra. He has taken the advertisement in Delhi, in Maharashtra and in Punjab, rupees 10 lakh. When XYZ Limited is raising the tax invoice to Cadbury Mumbai, what would be the place of the supply? How it will be apportioned between Delhi, Maharashtra and Punjab? how the service would be apportioned. How the service would be apportioned between Delhi, Maharashtra, and Punjab. The bill is being raised from by XYZ to Maharashtra GST number. Answer is, one thing please understand, that we need to apportion only when it has been given in the rule. Are we apportioning the insurance service? Are we apportioning the banking services? Are we apportioning that particular uh, transportation of goods services? Suppose it has been delivered in 3 states. Let's say XYZ Limited is saying XYZ Limited is a GTA, suppose, and is picking the goods from Pune. He is picking the goods from, let's say, Rajasthan is picking the goods from, let's say, Punjab. And this goods has been delivered to, let's say, uh, uh, any location, state A. This has been delivered to Gurgaon, Haryana, and this has been delivered to Chandigarh, Union Territory. Now XYZ Limited is raising the tax invoice to Cadbury, Maharashtra for this particular movement. Will you apportion this? Will you apportion this? Will you apportion this? The answer would be no. Sir, why no? Because in case of the transportation of goods, we are clear that if it is B2B, the place of the supply would be always LOR. The place of the supply would be always LOR. So again, I'm asking the same question. XYZ Limited is giving the advertising service to whom? To Cadbury. And this advertisement has been given in 3 states. State 1, State 2, and State 3. Which provision I will apply to determine the place of the supply? Will I apply section 12 subsection 14 to determine the place of the supply for this advertisement contract? एक बार मुझे कंफर्म कीजिए, will, yes or no? Will I apply section 12 subsection 14 for this advertisement contract to determine the place of the supply? Fine. Next question. Which section I will apply to determine the place of the supply? Next question. Which section I will apply to determine the place of the supply of this advertisement contract given to the XYZ, given by the Cadbury to the XYZ. जब XYZ is raising the bill to the Cadbury for this advertisement, which section you will apply to determine the place of the supply? Absolutely correct. 1214 cannot be applied because recipient is not the government. One thing is clear, 1214 cannot be applied because recipient is not the government. If 1214 is not being applied, then which section I will apply? Answer would be the default provision, 12 subsection 2. Now recall the section 12 subsection 2 where it is saying that if the service has been given in more than one state, then it has to be apportioned. क्या 12 subsection 2 ये बोलता है कि अगर मैंने सर्विस मोर देन वन स्टेट में दी है तो मुझे अपोर्शन करना नहीं? It is not being there in the 12 subsection 2. It is simply talking about LOR. So if 1214 does not apply, because recipient is Cadbury, which is not the government, then you will apply the default rule. And what is the default rule? It says that LOR would be the place of supply in case of B2B. Whether that particular provision is saying to apportion that contract? No, it is not saying that. It is not saying that. How you will determine the place of the supply? The place of the supply would be determined according to the basic, and which does not talk about any apportionment. So in all the state, service has been given in 3 states, but the place of the supply would only be Maharashtra, which is LOR. It will not be apportioned. Is it clear? Please confirm. Is it clear? Please apply this concept everywhere. It is not that this concept apply to a one or two category only. It is general concept. The place of the supply of the service where the LOS and LOR is outside India. Any one party is outside India and any one party is India. So you will determine the place of the supply according to section 30. You will determine the place of the supply according to section 30. Correct? Now, again, 13 subsection 2 says, so 13.1 says when it will be applied. 13.1 says that the provision of this section shall apply to determine the place of supply where the location of supplier or recipient is outside India. It means one party is outside India. Therefore, I can say one party is in India. Then it will be determined according to section 13. What? Place of supply. So basically, in the definition of export or import of services, in the definition of export or import of services, you will learn that there are 5 conditions, there are 3 conditions, and out of that, one condition is place of supply. How the place of the supply would be decided according to section 13. Subsection 2 says that the place of the supply, again, this is a default rule. What is the default rule? Simple. And one thing I can say that the one part is not come in the section 13, which that if the supply is B2B or if the supply is B2C. ये कभी भी नहीं आएगा. क्यों? Because one party is outside India who will always be unregistered. So the all transaction will be B2C or C2B. ठीक है. Now, what is the default rule? 13 subsection 2 says if the actual transaction is covered in the specific one, actual transaction is covered in the specific transaction. What is the specific transaction? 13 subsection 3 to 13 subsection 13, like they are talking about what is the place of the supply for event, what is the place of the supply for immovable property, what is the place of the supply for banking services, intermediary services, what is the place of the supply for transportation goods, etc. There are multiple provision has been given. If your actual transaction is getting covered in the specific one, then place of the supply would be according to that specific provision. If actual transaction is not covered in the specific one, then you will apply the 13 subsection 2. What is the 13 subsection 2? 13 subsection 2 says if recipient is known, available, address available, then LOR. If you are not knowing who is LOR, then location of the supplier would be the place of supply. Go back to the provision. What is the default rule says? It says that the place of the supply, except the service covered between 3 to 13, shall be the location of recipient of services. So, if it is covered in the actual specific transaction, then you will determine the place of the supply according to the specific. And if it is not covered, then you will apply the default rule. Default rule says that prima facie it would be LOR, and if address is not available, then place of the supply will be the location of supplier. Correct? Now we will read each and every provision, specific provision, subsection 3 to subsection 30. Now subsection 3 says that it is performance based service. It is performance based service. Now clause A is talking about performance with respect to goods, and clause B, which we will discuss, is clause B is talking about the performance related to individuals. Performance related to individuals. Clause A talking about performance with respect to goods. Then what is the place of the supply? If the goods are physically made available, let's say A is having the repair shop at Delhi, a repair of computer. Now Mr. John, who is from USA, he was in India trip and his laptop was not working. He has given the laptop to Mr. A. What would be the place of the supply? The place of the supply would be if the service supplied which are in respect of goods which are required to be physically made available, then place of the supply will be location of that goods. Place of the supply will be location of that goods. Now, if the goods are not provided, sometimes the services are being rendered over the remote location. Correct? I can take the access of your computer through AnyDesk, through TeamViewer, any other software. Then I can see the place of the supply. How you will determine the place of the supply? How you will determine the place of the supply would be the location of that goods, where the place of the supply shall be the location of the goods when it was situated. So obviously your location would be the place of supply. Third says nothing contained in this clause shall apply. It means देखो इस शब्द का मतलब क्या होता है, ये भी बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है. Nothing contained in this clause shall apply. It means the above provision will not be applicable in the below transaction. If I am saying that above provision will not be applicable, then how you will determine the place of the supply? Default rule. See, if I am saying that above provision will not be applicable, what does it mean? It simply mean that default rule you will apply to determine the place of the supply. What is that situation? What is that transaction? Let's read. If the goods are, so let me tell you first example. एक पहले मैं example देता हूं and then I will explain. Mr. A has sold the plant and machinery, any machine, to the Mr. John of USA. He has sent the machine to the Mr. John USA. This is export of the goods, but we are not reading or we are not discussing the export of the goods ka transaction. We are reading the place of the supply of service. Now assume that this machine is not working. Machine is not working at all. A is saying you need to send the machine back to India. So A is sending the machine back to India to A's service center. A is doing the repair. After that repair, he is exporting to the out of India. I am writing one word, without being put to use in India. इसका कुछ भी use नहीं किया. That machine is not being used for any purpose. Just it has been imported And after the repair, it has been exported again. For that, let's say there is a $1,000 ka invoice by A to John. Question is, what would be the place of the supply of 1,000 US dollar? The reason is because the service has been rendered in India. It is a performance based service with respect to goods. But the question is, what would be the place of the supply? Performance, or because if it is performance, it cannot be export. For export of service, the place of the supply should be outside India. But suppose in this transaction, if I'm saying that because you have rendered the service with respect to the performance of goods, the place of the supply will be the location of goods. In that case, what happened? The place of the supply would be the India and it is not export. तो 1000 के ऊपर टैक्स लगेगा, which is not export. Therefore, the proviso says that nothing contained in this clause shall apply. It means this transaction ka place of the supply will be determined according to the default rule. This transaction ka place of the supply would be determined according to the default rule. What it says that location of recipient would be the place of supply. What is the place of the supply? Location of recipient, that is from US, and US would be the place of supply. Now let's read the language, and then if you have any question, you may ask. Provided further that nothing contained in this clause shall apply in case service supplied in respect of the goods which are temporarily imported into India for repair or for any other treatment of the process and are exported after such repair, treatment of the process without being put to use in India other than that which is required for the repair. So in that case, I can say, because this provision will not apply, then which provision will apply? We know that for every transaction, if it is not covered in the specific, then default rule will come into the picture. Now we are reading that what is the place of the supply. Now we are reading what is the place of the supply for individuals. Individual supplied, service has been supplied to individuals. Let's say any treatment has been given to Mr. John. Any physical training has been given to Mr. John. So let's say I have been appointed to go to USA and provide the physical training. What would be the place of the supply? The place of the supply would be the service supplied to the individual represented either as a person acting on behalf which require the physical presence of the recipient or the person acting. Then place of the supply would be the location of that recipient. Place of the supply would be the location of that recipient. It is a performance-based service. So the place of the supply would be the location of that person. Is it clear? एक बार confirm कीजिए. Any question you may ask. ट्रेनर सिंह जिसका कोई नहीं उसका 13-2 होगा. सही बात है. Example 13-3, I think, Geeta, is it clear? I have given the example. Still you want some example? Performance based service goods repair के लिए मेरे को दिया. Do you need any other example? ओके, यस सर, क्लियर, फाइन फाइन। थोड़ा सा जवाब लेट आता है, तो दैट वुड बी द प्रोबेबली रीजन कि आपके और मेरे कम्युनिकेशन में स्लाइटली गैप रहता है। नाउ 13 subsection 4, it simply says that place of the supply of the service supplied directly in relation to an immovable property, including service supplied in this regard by the real estate expert, agent, accommodation, hotel in guest house, composite, campus site, by whatever name called, or grant of right to use immovable property, service for carrying out or coordination of construction work, including that of architect, interior decorator, क्या होगा? Shall be the place where the immovable property is located. Very simple. It is similar to the provision which we have discussed already. Location of the property is the place of supply. Now what happened? This performance based service, there are some circular which we will discuss at the end. Performance based service, there are some circular which we discuss at the end. Now let me ask one question to all of you. Mr. A is from Delhi, unregistered person. He is giving the Maruti car to or Maruti Suzuki showroom, any showroom, for repair, etc. That particular service center is located in Noida, UP. So they are taking one day after that repair, they have given the Mr. A taken the car back. Now, when this supplier Maruti Suzuki will raise the invoice to unregistered person of Noida, which section you will apply to determine the place of supply? And if you are not able to recall that section, you are not able to recall that main subsection, correct? So at least subsection नहीं तो section का नाम तो बता दो कि will I apply section 12 or will I apply section 13? Question number 1. Question number 2, what would be the place of supply? I hope question is clear. A of Delhi, unregistered, he has given the Maruti for the repair. After the repair, Maruti reaching the invoice of, let's say, 5,000 to Mr. A of Delhi. Now please tell me which section you will apply. No problem if you are not able to recall the subsection, but at least please tell me the section number. Then you tell me what is the place of the supply, and if you can add the reason for place of the supply. If you can add the reason for giving the answer, whatever you are giving the answer as a place of the supply, I would have the more clarity regarding your understanding. Please. Sorry. कुछ जूम में चेंज हुआ है, मतलब some option has been changed, so I'm getting little bit difficulty. So what is the place of the supply in this particular provision? One thing is clear, that section 12 would be applied because supplier ka location and recipient ka location both are in India, therefore section 12 would be applied. Now you tell me what would be the place of supply. Will it be Noida? Will it be Delhi or somewhere else? Will it be Noida? Will it be Delhi? What would be the place of the supply? Please answer along with reason why you are saying so that I can understand your logical reasoning behind that. Reason. Leena, give me the reason why Noida. Answer is Noida or Delhi. What is the answer? Noida or Delhi? So how the place of the supply would be determined? It will be determined according to the default provision 12 subsection 2, which says that LOR would be the place of the supply if address is available. I am saying that address is available. Assuming that address is available, then therefore LOR, Delhi would be the place of the supply. Now let's say if this question is of one party in India, one party outside India. Let's say Mr. John from Bangladesh. Okay. A is taking the car to the Bangladesh. After repair, that car is being given back to the Mr. A. Correct. So why I am comparing? So this is not my question. Why I am comparing? Because in the section 13, there is an specific provision for performance-based service. There is an specific provision for performance-based service, but in the section 12, there is no performance-based service. It is coming in the default rule. So, make one chart talking about section 12, different transaction, and compare with section 13. What is the place of the supply? You will have the very great clarity. You will have the very great clarity between 12 and 13. And you will not forget any time. Make the chart of 12, of 13, each subsection wise. Let me move further. 12 subsection 5. It simply says that service by way of event. Now in the event, if you remember, in the section 12, there is a separate provision for admission to the ticket, subsection 6. And there is a separate provision for organizing the event, 12 subsection 7. But in this particular section 13, whether you are taking the admission in the event or you are organizing, in both the case, 13.5 would be applied and the place of the supply would be the location of event. Where the event is actually held. If it is in India, then India would be the place of the supply. If it is outside India, then outside India would be the place of the supply. Perfect. Now, in all the three transactions, there could be the two situations. In all the three transactions, subsection 3, performance-based, subsection 4, immovable property, subsection 5, admission or organization to the event. There could be the two problems. One is if event is held more than one country. if the immovable property is in more than one country, if the place of the performance is in more than one country. And second problem, it says that if service has been rendered in more than one state. You are getting my both the point? If it is in more than one country, then place of the supply would be. If it is in more than one country, then place of the supply would be determined according to 13 subsection 6 and this according to 13 subsection 7, which we will discuss. First, 13 subsection 6, more than one country including India. Then including India means non, India का मतलब क्या हुआ? Taxable territory. If event is held, which event? Subsection 3, subsection 4, subsection 5. Then place of the supply will be determined according to the subsection 6 if it is held in more than one country, and it says that the place of the supply would be the taxable territory. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? अगर कोई एक सबसेक्शन 3, 4, 5 का ट्रांजेक्शन अगर एक से ज्यादा कंट्री में हो रहा है इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया, पूरे ट्रांजेक्शन का प्लेस ऑफ द सप्लाई वुड बी इंडिया. पूरे ट्रांजेक्शन का प्लेस ऑफ द सप्लाई वुड बी इंडिया. लेट्स से यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग द टूर एंड ट्रैवल सर्विस. ठीक. टू मिस्टर जॉन, he like to visit India, he like to visit Nepal, he like to visit Sri Lanka. You are the tour and travel service provider to Mr. John. One party is in India, one party outside India. Section 13 would come. It is performance related service with respect to individual. It will fall in 13(3)(b). Now the service has been provided with more than one location. Subsection more than one country. Subsection 6 says that for entire transaction, place of the supply would be India. Why? Because subsection 6 says, now read the language of subsection 6. Where any service referred to in subsection 3, performance-based service with respect to goods or individual. Subsection 4, immovable property related. Subsection 5, which is event-based admission or organization. More than one location including India, then place of the supply would be India for the entire transaction. Now let's move to the subsection 7. What is the subsection 7? More than one state. Again, same service. Subsection 3, performance-based service, immovable property related service, or event-related services are supplied in more than one state. What would be the place of the supply shall be taken as each of the respective state. How we will determine? According to the contract, and if contract is silent, according to the rule. What is that rule? What is that rule? Let me go below and discuss that particular rule. In the absence of the contract between the supplier and the recipient, the proportionate value of the service supplied is computed in accordance with Rule 9. What is the Rule 9? Lays down that in the absence of the contract, the value of the service will be determined according to the Rule 5. It means For section 13, there is no other rule. They are only linking with the rule which we have discussed already in the section 12. They are saying rule 9 apply, and rule 9 says it will be same as rule 5. So for the provision of determining the proportionate value of the service by the event, both the supplier and service located in India are applicable for determining the proportionate value of the service supplied by way of admission to the ticket. Same rule 5 prescribed by way of organization of an event, so same would be applied here. So they have simply linked with the rule, respective rule. 13.5 is clear, 13.6 is clear, 13.7 is clear. Now the biggest problem or very, very important provision. Section 8. It has 3 clauses, clause A, clause B, and the clause C. Place of the supply of the following service shall be the location of the supplier of the service. Place of the supply shall be the location of supplier of service. Can I say in this case, the transaction would not be export, it will always be having the C pluses. क्या मैं ये कह सकता हूं, if the supplier is belongs to India, then it can never be export, and that transaction will always have the tag C plus S. Can I say this? My question, in the 13th subsection 8, can I say that in this case it is a domestic transaction even though customer belongs to out of India, but it will have the C pluses? Can I say like this, that this transaction, if location is in India, supplier ka location is in India, then he will charge always CGST and SGST. Why I am saying so? The reason is, read the language of 13 subsection 8. The place of the supply shall be the location of supplier. Fine. If the supplier is in Delhi, what is the place of the supply? It says that it will be the location of the supplier itself. So place of supply क्या होगा? Delhi. Customer कहां से belong करता है? UK से belong करता है. Therefore, I can say this is the domestic transaction chargeable to C plus S. It is immaterial whether my customer is from outside India or not outside from India. We are looking section 7 of IGST Act. Define the term interstate supply. Section 8 define the term intrastate supply. If it is interstate supply, then IGST would be charged. If it is intra, then C plus S would be charged. But for determining inter or intra, we are looking the location of supplier and place of the supply. We are simply ignoring LOR always to determine POS. Move further. This service is service supplied by the banking company, financial institution, NBFC, to the account holder. What is the place of supply? The place of the supply would be LOS. That is fixed and same for all permutation combination. For all clauses, clause A, clause B, clause C, doesn't matter. Now, if Indian bank provide the service to the foreign customer who is having the account, in that case, the location of the bank will be the place of supply and he will charge C plus S. Next, intermediary service is very, very tough. No, it is not that tough at all, but the transaction will never be export. That is big problem. Intermediary term has been defined in the GST. We'll discuss the language. But before that, let me read the circular in detail. Let me read the circular in detail. There was a circular 159, which has clarified the various things with respect to intermediary. Circular 159 has clarified the doubt related to intermediary services. The circular clarifies what is the intermediary. Intermediary means agent, commission agent, etc. Adatiya, Del, Trader. Intermediary means there has to be three party. There has to be three party, A, B, and C. Then only you can talk about the intermediary services. Now it says that there has to be the minimum three party. When you read the definition, intermediary is someone who arrange or facilitate the supply of the goods or services between two or more persons. It means there is some transaction, but Mr. A is just helping to do that transaction, and for which he is getting the remuneration. Let me take one example. B is the motorbike manufacturing company. B has appointed Mr. A to promote the sale or to promote the product in Germany, in UK. He is promoting. Now, there is a two transaction. One is on principal to principal basis between B to C. Principal to principal. Now there is one more transaction. Who is Mr. A? Mr. A is doing just facilitating the sale. He is identifying the potential customer, and then B is approaching to those customers for their requirement. A क्या कर रहा है? A is merely working not on principal to principal, but principal to agent. In that case, A ka service would be called as intermediary. And intermediary, what we have discussed, location of supply will be the place of the supply for entire section 13 subsection 8. If my location is Delhi and place of the supply is also Delhi, yes, then which tax I will charge? C plus S. Then they are saying there should be the two distinct type of the supply. One is the main supply between two principal, and one is ancillary supply, which is service of the facilitation or arrangement to the main supply between two principal. I hope you are getting the clarity. If not, then you can tell me. I will explain or re-explain. Ancillary supplies the supply of intermediary service and is clearly identified and distinguished from the main supply. A supplier who is involved in supplying of the main supply on principal to principal basis to another person. A person involved in the supply of main supply on principal to another person cannot be considered as supplier of intermediary. Further, they have talked about intermediary service provider to have the characters of agent, broker, or any other similar person. The definition itself says that intermediary service provider means a broker, agent, or any other person by whatever name called. This part, again, this definition is not the inclusive. It means it is not in the wider in scope. The definition is starting with the word means, meaning thereby, that does not expand the definition by any non-expression of expansion such as include. So it is not scope. उनका बहुत लिमिटेड स्कोप है. इंटरमीडियरी की बात करो. The term arrange or facilitate suggest a subsidiary role but which is the main supply, but it doesn't mean he's providing the main supply. Role of intermediary is only supportive in the nature. Does not include the person who has supplied such goods or services on his own account. It means I am supplying at my own. It means principal to principal relationship hai. The definition that intermediary does not include the person who supplies such goods on his own account. The word used such in the definition with reference to the supply of the goods or services refers to the main supply. The use of the word such in the definition with reference to the supply of the goods or services refer to the main supply of the goods or services or both between two or more persons which are arranged or facilitated by the intermediary. It implies that in case wherein the person supplying the main supply on principal to principal, it cannot be covered under the scope of intermediary. And very, very important, subcontracting is not the intermediary. So let's say I have received the contract from the foreign company. I have outsourced the contract to the intermediary. Now, when the intermediary provides the service to me or he provides the service directly to the UK, he cannot be termed as intermediary because I have subcontracted his the supplier of the main service may outsource the supply to the full or part to the one or more subcontractor. When subcontractor provide the main supply is not merely an arrangement or facilitate to the main supply where between the principal and the customer, and therefore it is clearly not an intermediary. This was the clarification given by the circular 159. One of the best circular, one of the very excellent circular. Sorry, 1 minute. So Third clause, service shall be the location of the supplier of the service supplied to the banking company, financial institution, NBFC to the account holder, intermediary. Third is service consisting of hiring of the mean of transport, including yacht, but excluding aircraft and vessel up to the period of 1 month. So up to period of 1 month, it is saying that it will be covered in this clause and the location of supplier would be the place of supply. What is the explanation? For the purpose of this clause, account means an account being interest to the depositor and include non-resident external account and non-resident ordinary account both. Banking companies shall have the same meaning as given in the Reserve Bank of India Act. Financial institution, again they have linked the definition with the RBI. NBFC means a financial institution which is a company. Non-banking institution which is company and which has as its principal business the receiving of the deposit under any scheme or arrangement or in any other manner or lending in any manner, or such other non-banking institution or the class as the Reserve Bank of India may with the prior approval of the government and by notification specify. That's it. Now what happened? 13 subsection 9 is omitted by the Finance Act 2023. Reason we will discuss. But the 13 subsection 9 has been omitted transportation of goods. Can you please tell me that if the transportation of goods ka provision has been omitted, then now how I will determine? अब मैं कैसे determine करूंगा? Suppose I am a shipping line company providing the service to the foreigner for sending the goods to him or for bringing the goods from out of India to India, and I am raising the invoice to the foreign company. Now, earlier I was applying the 13 subsection 9 to determine the place of supply. Now, if it is omitted, how I will determine the place of supply? जिसका कोई नहीं उसका क्या है? 13 subsection 2. It means now the place of the supply would be decided according to 13 subsection 2. मोहम्मद, आपका मैंने पॉइंट काफी बाद में देखा है. प्लीज टेल मी विच पॉइंट यू आर सेइंग मी टू एक्सप्लेन. कौन सा पॉइंट मैं वापस एक्सप्लेन करूं? टेल मी, आई विल रिपीट अगेन. टेल मी, आई विल रिपीट अगेन. Is it a composite supply? Which? No, it is not the composite supply. If shipping line company of India providing the service to outside Indian customer, then how it is a composite supply? या आपका क्वेश्चन किसी और प्रोविजन से? एक बार आपका क्वेश्चन कंफर्म करना एंड आई विल कम to the intermediary. Now I have received Muhammad Abdul Rahim. I will repeat the intermediaries again once again along with circular. No problem. But let me take the clarity from Miss Anga K, for which you are asking about the composite supply. Please clarify. What is the intermediary? First, read the definition of intermediary. First, read the definition of intermediary. Who is intermediary? Intermediary means broker, agent, by or any other person by whatever name called, who arranges or facilitate the supply. It can be goods, it can be services, or it can be both, or securities between two or more person, but does not include the person who supply the goods or services or both on his own account. It means suppose one is a commission agent. A is a commission agent for the foreign company. It is a manufacturing company of the motorbike. Mohammad Abdul, try to understand. I'm explaining one very interesting part. Mr. A is a commission agent from India. He is promoting the sale of motorbike which is being manufactured by the Mr. John and Company, USA. Now the bike is being sold in Germany, in Japan, in let's say China, let's say UK, multiple. And his total commission become $10 lakh. Let's say A will raise the invoice for the commission to the John and USA. Is it export of service or not? For determining export of service, we have to determine the place of the supply. What is the place of supply? He is a commission agent. He is basically working as a facilitator between two persons, the per supplier and the recipient of that goods or that services. He is nothing but the getting the commission. He is a broker. He is only facilitating that transaction, facilitating to identify the potential buyer. He is not supplying at his own account. It is not like that John is sending the goods to A, selling the goods to A, and A is further making the sale to following parties. No, this is not the transaction. The transaction is A is merely facilitating that transaction. If this is the case, then what would be the place of the supply? We have discussed in the 13th subsection 8 clause B, place of the supply would be location of supply. Let's say A belongs to Mumbai. So the place of the supply, location of supplier is Mumbai. Place of the supply is also Mumbai. And therefore, when he raised invoice, he will raise invoice by charging CGST and SGST. Is it clear? (13.8) clause C I have explained. Not explain means just is a hiring. Hiring means you have taken the, so foreigner is coming in India. He has taken the any transportation mode for 1 month. Then how you will determine the place of the supply? The place of the supply would be the location of supplier. It is very simple. You are giving the transport, hiring of the means of the transport, including yacht, but excluding aircraft and the vessels, up to a period of 1 month. So it means if you are giving the aircraft or vessel, it will be given and it will be fall under default category. But otherwise, hiring of the means of the transport, including yachts, but excluding aircraft, it will be covered under the This provision and the place of the supply would be the location of supplier, and it is not export of service. Is it clear? Prerna? Clear na? So intermediary is very, very important. Intermediary is very, very important. And please note one thing. This is underlined. If in the exam they may ask the question, yaad rakhna, it is only to the account holder. Let's take one example. Mr. A is exporting the goods to John USA. John USA, he is instructing the bank, let's say it is Donna and Bank, Don and Bank, that to make the payment to Mr. A's bank account or A. Now, this particular bank, when he is making the payment to Mr. A, he is charging, let's say, $10. Net proceed is being collected. Let's say, I'm assuming this is not exact example. I'm just trying to explain. A is registered in GST. Dona Bank is located in USA. He's charging $10 from Mr. A. Supplier is Dona Bank and customer is Mr. A. What would be the place of the supply? We know that if it is covered by 13.8a, then place of the supply would be location of supplier. It means in this transaction, the supplier is USA and place of the supply is USA. It is out of GST. If the location of supplier and place of the supply both outside India, it can't be chargeable to GST at all. Question is, that in this case, whether Mr. A is account holder of Dona Bank, answer is no. He is not the account holder. So 13.8 ka clause A will not apply. It means it will goes to the default provision. What is the default provision? Place of the supply is equal to LOR. Place of the supply is equal to LOR. What is the LOR? What is the location of recipient? Maharashtra. So I can say the place of the supply is Maharashtra. It become import of service. Mr. A need to pay the tax under reverse charge on such charges which is collected by the Dona Bank. Is it clear? एक बार confirm करें. So I have highlighted one important term that they are talking about 13.8a, talking about only account holder. 13.8a are talking about only account holder, not anything else. Is it okay? If you have any question, you may ask. Let's take a break of 15 minutes and then we will resume at 7:35. Ashokji, kindly start the break. Ms. Anga has asked one question, very nice question. So this is depending upon the terms of the contract. Prima facie, I have given the example just to explain the concept of account holder. Might be the practically is not happening in this way. Might be that rupees 10 is being charged to the Mr. John. Correct. You are correct. So I like to explain the stuff to the all the participant, all the student. That's it. But it will depend upon the terms, and in the normal circumstances, it will be the service to the John. They are collecting from the John definitely, and they both are out of India, so they will not come into the picture. So that GST will not come into the picture on this transaction. Your part one. First part is clear. Please confirm. First part is clear. So I can move to the next part. Now you are saying that, so whether section 13(8) applies if the John ka place is in India and not the US in this example. So you mean to say account holder is in India. You mean to say account holder is in India, right? And the location of supplier is outside India. Then again, the tax liability would not arise, because if John is account holder, then the location of supplier is US bank. Location, place of the supply is location of supplier, and therefore it is US. Both is US, out of GST. In your both example, the transaction will not be taxable in the GST. Is that clear? एक बार confirm कर दीजिए. Now the subsection 10 is talking about the place of the supply in respect of the passenger transportation services shall be the place where the passenger embark on the conveyance for a continuous journey. Exactly same. In case of the passenger transportation service, you remember section 12. What was the place of the supply? Location of recipient if it is B2B. And if it is B2C, then the location where the passenger embark on the conveyance for a continuous journey. It is exactly same. You will find this provision also same. The place of the supply, the service provided on the board a conveyance during the course of the passenger transportation operation, including service intended to be wholly or substantially consumed while on board shall be the first schedule point of the departure of that conveyance. यहाँ पर भी place of supply exactly same. That first schedule point of the departure of that conveyance. Correct? What is the first schedule point of the departure of that conveyance? Same as we have discussed in section 12. Now section 12 subsection, section 13 subsection 12 is important. It is talking about with respect to OIDAR services. I will use the word OIDAR in short. What is the meaning of OIDAR? Online Information Database Access Retrieval Services. OIDAR. OIDAR. The place of the supply. Place of the supply of OIDAR shall be the LOR. place of the supply of OIDAR services shall be the location of recipient of services. Explanation says, for the purpose of this subsection, person receiving such services shall be deemed to be located in the taxable territory. For the purpose of this subsection, the place, the person receiving services shall be deemed to be the located. Now, what they are saying, example, first simple example. If OIDAR service provider supplier is in India, any supply which is given online, let's say it is online, even gaming, online video conferencing software, online platform like YouTube, like this. Assume supplier is in India and the customer is outside India. No problem. So the place of the supply is LOR, perfect. If all other condition is satisfied, then my transaction would be export. But in this example, the explanation says, if any of the two non-contradictory condition are satisfied. We'll discuss each of the condition. In this example, the recipient is located outside India, no doubt. And customer is located in India, providing the OIDAR services. Then, as per the primarily rule, the place of the supply would be the LOR, outside India. So transaction would be export if all other conditions are satisfied. But if explanation says that any two non-contradictory conditions two non-contradictory conditions are satisfied. The condition is with respect to payment by Indian bank. Condition is with respect to address. Condition is with respect to internet IP, mobile number. Multiple things are there. We will discuss. But they are saying, if this person has used the Indian bank for making the payment, has given the address of India while taking the OIDAR services, has used the IP address of India while taking the services, or has used the mobile number starting with +91. In all such cases, if two conditions are satisfied, then they have inserted the deeming provision. Deeming provision. It means they are saying Mr. John, who is actually from out of India, but for the purpose of this section, he will be deemed to be the located in India, taxable territory. And once he is deemed to be located in India, and what is the place of the supply? Place of the supply is always LOR. Because of the deeming provision, he was deemed as Indian recipient. So place of the supply is also India, and therefore, the transaction would not be export. What are the conditions? Let me read that condition. If the location of address presented by the recipient is in the taxable territory. Credit card or debit card, store value card, charge card, smart card, or any other card by which the recipient settle the payment has been issued in the taxable territory. The billing address of the recipient is in the taxable territory. IP, Internet Protocol Address, IP address of the device used by the recipient is in the taxable territory. Bank of the recipient of the service in which the account used for payment is maintained in the taxable territory. Country code of the subscriber, identity module card used by the recipient is of the taxable territory. Location of the fixed landline through which the service is received by the recipient is in the taxable territory. So out of these conditions, if any two non-contradictory conditions are satisfied, non-contradictory means the condition with respect to payment, credit card, debit card, condition with respect to payment, you are using both the conditions are satisfied. No, it should be separate condition. ठीक है. I hope it is clear. Give me the answer and let me tackle the question of again, Nisanga. Let me start your question once again from beginning. You are saying that Mr. John from USA, Dona Bank is of USA. Instead of charging to Mr. obviously A, probably they will charge to the USA. Correct. This recipient. Perfect. In that case, will the GST come into the picture? What is the location of supplier? USA. What is the place of the supply? Whether the service has been given to the account holder? Obviously, yes. The place of the supply would be USA. Then I can say it is out of GST. Question number 1, which you asked. Now, in the second part of the same question, you are saying, if John ka place is in India, now let's say he is in India and the Dona Bank is providing services to John, Indian party, for any bank charges, for any foreign payment, etc., for any payment. Again, the location of supplier is USA. Place of the supply is the location of recipient. No, not the location of recipient. Why? Because assuming it is account holder. If it is account holder, assuming if it is account holder, then the place of the supply would be USA. And because of 13(8)(a), it will be out of GST. Now, second permutation, if it is not account holder, then the place of the supply would be, according to the default provision 13(2), the place of the supply would be India. And this person, if registered, he need to pay the tax under RCA. Fourth question you have asked that what if the bank is in India, John? Now, there is an ICICI bank who is registered in Delhi, providing the certain services to the John. Let's say again, John is having any account like foreign account, any NRI account, NRO account, multiple concepts are there. If they are account holder, then location of supplier, India. Place of the supply would also become India because of 13(8)(a). And therefore, it is domestic transaction chargeable to GST and not export. Let's say it is not account holder. Then in that case, what happens? The default provision 13(2) will come and location of supplier, obviously India. Place of the supply would become USA because of the default provision. If all other conditions are satisfied, it is export and either refund would be granted of accumulated ITC or tax paid. So, whether your question is clear, एक बार confirm करना. Now, Viraj has asked the question, in GST evasion case, more than 100 online gaming firms in a move to the increase their hold against tax evasion by online gaming company now official are looking to launch investigation against 100 more online company for evasion of the GST. Supreme Court earlier restricted the Karnataka High Court order that had caused the intimation which is the GST seeking cases. नहीं नहीं नहीं. For the OIDAR, we are talking about OIDAR and you are talking about online gaming. So altogether, new set of the provision has been made on that. New rule has been inserted, 31A, 31B, 31C. Sorry, 31A was already there, 31B and 31C. Amendment in the section has been placed in the schedule 3. So that is not online. This concept is not there because that online gaming is goods and OIDAR is a services. Try to understand. Online gaming is a goods, which is actionable claim. So online gaming, casino, etc. is actionable claim and it is a goods. So this provision will not be applicable. This provision will not be applicable because we are talking about services and online gaming, casino, horse racing, etc. They are nature of actionable claim and actionable claim is a goods. And all the amendment has been taken place wherever the goods ka provision is there. Is it clear? Subsection 13. Now 13 subsection 13 says either to prevent double taxation or to avoid non-taxation. Government notify. So government has the power to notify certain categories of services for which place of the supply will be effective use and enjoyment of the services. Let's see what all the notification has been issued in the 13 subsection 13. Majorly, the 3.3 category we will discuss. First is pharmaceutical. So what they are saying? By using the power of 13 subsection 13, government has issued the following notifications. First notification is talking about research and development services relating to pharmaceutical company. Now they have given the description of certain services. Column number 2 and column number 3, they have given the list of services. Serial number 1 to 10. When supplied by the person located in India, wherever the word taxable territory is there, I'm using the word India because we all know that taxable territory means India. To a person located in non-taxable territory means Indian company is providing the service to the outside Indian party. Indian person is providing the service to outside Indian person. What is that? This is with respect to R&D activity. So prima facie, I can say they are related to certain research on the chemical, which is being happen in India. Let's for the time being, let's say I am Sun Pharma. Okay. And you are certain USA company. You have sent the chemical for the research. I have done the research. Where I have done the research? In India. So basically it becomes the performance-based service with respect to goods. And what was the location of the goods? India. So place of the supply become India. Place of the supply become India. Correct? To avoid double taxation or to non-taxation, they have, government has the power to notify. Government are saying that LOR would be the place of the supply. So what happened? They are saying that it become USA as POS. Now, in this case, if all other conditions are satisfied, then this service would be export, which is called a zero rated supply. They have covered certain services. What are the services? You can read integrated discovery and development, integrated development, evaluations of the efficacy of the new chemical, biological entities in the animal model. They are not required to remember so much of the nature of the task because it is related to the pharmaceutical sector evaluation, but you can just go through the same. The main provision, that main point which you need to understand, that they have given the place of supply as LOR by this notification. Now, trial run, etc. Second, this is with respect to aircraft. MRO services. What is MRO? MRO means maintenance, repair, and overall services. Maintenance, repair, and overhaul services with respect to aircraft. Meaning thereby, let's say ABC and company is having the contract with British Airlines. ABC company has received the contract from British Airlines regarding the MRO with respect to the British Airline aircraft. Now, when that aircraft is in India, then this company provide the maintenance repair services to that aircraft. Again, what is the nature of the transaction? We can say the nature of the transaction is nothing but the performance related service with respect to goods. Then what would be the place of the supply? It should be India, and therefore supplier is in India, place of the supply is in India. One thing is clear, it cannot be exported. Using the power of 1313, government are saying that the place of the supply would be LOR. Now, because it is LOR, even the performance is being given in India, but the place of the supply outside India, and the transaction would become export of service if all other conditions are satisfied. Now, they have covered aircraft. Now, in the next notification, they have covered vessel and they have covered vessel and ships also. Same MRO services in respect to ships and other vessel, engine and other component, etc. The place of the supply shall be the location of recipient of that service. Any question you may ask? Any question you may ask? So now we will move to the circular, which has been issued regarding the place of supply. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now, the first circular with respect to cargo handling services. Now, there is certain disputes. We'll read wording. So, port authorities provide various services to the client in relation to the cargo handling. Some of the services are in respect of arrival of the wagon at port, haulage of the wagon inside port, area up to the place of loading, siding of the wagons inside the port, unloading of the wagon, movement of the unloaded cargo to the plot, staking thereof, movement of the unloaded cargo to the berth, shipment, loading on the vessel, etc. Now, please note, it is clarified that services are ancillary or related to the cargo handling services, and it is not related to immovable property. Accordingly, the POS, place of the supply, will be determined according to the 12 subsection 2 or 13 subsection 2 by default provision, as the case may be, depending upon the terms of the contract between supplier and recipient. Second circular, place of the supply in case of the software design service related to electronic, semiconductor and design manufacturing ESDM industries. Now, these companies are engaged in the process of developing the software, designing the integrated circuit electronically for the customer located out of India. The customer electronically provide Indian development and design company with design requirement and intellectual property blocks. Customer who is located out of India, what they are doing? They are providing the Indian development and the design company with the design requirement and intellectual property block, IP block, reusable unit of the software logic, design layout that can be combined, new designer. Based on these, the Indian company digitally integrate the various IP block to develop the software and the silicon or the hardware design. That these designs are communicated abroad, either to the customer or a manufacturing facility to manufacture of the hardware based on such design. So now they have developed the design. They are providing either directly to the customer, foreign customer, or they are providing to the manufacturer of the hardware based on such design. In addition, software development is also integrated upon or customized to this hardware. Software developed is also integrated upon or customized to this hardware. On some occasion, sample of such prototype hardware are then provided back to the Indian development and design company to test and validate the software and design that have been developed to ensure it is error-free. What was the question? Question arose whether provision of the hardware prototype and the sample and testing thereon lend this service the character of the performance-based service in respect to goods required to be made physically available by the recipient to the provider. It is observed that in the contract where service provider is involved in a composite supply of software development and design for circuit electronically, testing of the software on a sample prototype is often an ancillary services, whereas chip design software development is the principal supply. Service provider is not involved in the software testing alone. Software provider is not engaged in the software testing alone as a separate service. Testing is ancillary activity. Entire activity need to be viewed as one supply, accordingly treated for taxation. Artificial vivisection of contract of a composite supply is not provided in the law. These cases are fact-based and each case should be examined separately. But it appears that this will be the based circular based on the LOR. The place of the supply would be LOR according to 13 subsection 2. Circular 118 clarified that the POS will be, they clarified that place of the supply that software / designed by the supplier in India to the customer located outside India by using the sample prototype hardware test kit in a composite supply where such testing is an ancillary is the location of the service recipient as per 13 subsection 2. Provision of 13(3)(a) does not apply separately for determining the POS for ancillary supply in such case. This circular 159 we have already discussed regarding the intermediary. What is another circular? Let me see. So interstate supply. Section 7, subsection 1 talking about goods. They are saying subject to the provision of section 10, the supply of the goods where the location of the supplier and place of the supply are in two different states, two different UT, one state, one UT, shall be treated as supply of the goods in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Now, 13 subsection, 7 subsection 2 is basically applicable for services. Import of the goods. If you are importing the goods, it shall be interstate trade or commerce. In the GST, interstate or import or export is considered as interstate supply only. Subsection 3 is related to services. Subsection 4 is related to import of services. Subsection 3 says that subject to the provision of 12, supply of service where the LOS, location of supplier, and POS are in two different states, two different UT, one state, one UT shall be treated as supply in the course of interstate trade or commerce. 7 subsection 4 will talk about services. If you are importing the services, it is interstate supply. Now 7 subsection 5, I am asking one question to all of you. On the clause A, I have the question. Let's read the clause A. Supply of the goods and services or both. When the supplier is located in India and the place of the supply is outside India. When the location of the supplier is in India and place of the supply is outside India. So what is the place, what this transition will be? They are saying it is interstate trade or commerce. My question is whether it is export, whether they are talking about export only, whether they are talking about export of service. Are they talking about export of service in the clause A? That is my question. In 7 subsection 5 clause B, my question is, are they talking about the export of services? Are they talking about export of service? No, not necessary. It may be or it may not be. Reason, because in case of the export of service, like there are 5 conditions. Let's say one condition is not satisfied. Will that transaction be export? No, it will not be export. I am saying that location of supplier is in India. Place of the supply is outside India. Location of customer is outside India, but amount is coming in the Indian rupees. Or they are related party. They are the distinct person. Then you will understand in the coming chapters, import, export, that there are the 5 conditions to be satisfied. If the 5 conditions are not satisfied, it is not export. But if the supplier is in India and place of the supply is outside India, it will always be treated as interstate trade or commerce. Next, they are saying to or by. Next, they are saying to or by a special economic zone developer or SEZ. It means if you are located in the DTA and you are making the supply to the SEZ unit, yeah, SEZ is making the supply to the DTA. In both the cases, whether it is to or by, the place of the supply shall be interstate trade or commerce. If you are doing the transaction with SEZ, then it is always interstate supply. Now, the transaction is happening in India, but it is not intra and not covered elsewhere. They are saying that transaction is not intrastate supply, and also that is not covered anywhere else. Then that transaction will also be treated as interstate supply. That is okay. Now let's move to the section 8. What is intrastate supply? Simple. If the location of supplier and place of the supply is in within the state, within the union territory, then it is intrastate supply. If location of supplier and place of the supply are in same state or same UT, shall be treated intrastate supply. Proviso means that following three transactions will not be considered as intrastate supply. What is that three transaction? That if you are making the supply the goods to the SEZ unit or developer, it is always inter. We have discussed. If you are importing the goods, let's say I am registered in Mumbai, I am importing the goods in Mumbai port, but import would always be interstate supply. Third, they are referring to section 15. In the refund, probably you will read section 15 talk about the international tourist. Whatever the goods they are taking from India to out of India, the IGST paid on that goods will be refunded from the international airport itself. Mechanism in the GST is not yet provided. Probably it may come, but the logic is that the international airport, but they will give the refund to the person who is going out of India, also taking the goods along with out of India. So they are saying if he is going along with certain goods, then that international tourist referred to in section 15 will be get refund. What is the meaning of tourist? International tourist means who are coming in India for not more than 6 months and not legitimate, non-immigrant purpose. Subsection 2 says that for services where the location of supplier and place of the supply are in same state, same UT, shall be treated as intra-state supply. And again, they have excluded the if that in the intrastates that in the shall not include the supply of the service to the SEZ unit or developer. Now, these explanations are very, very important. There are two explanations. Let's read first explanation. Now, this use of this explanation is in the definition of export. How? I will explain. Let me complete the explanation 1. For the purpose of this act, a person has an establishment in India and any other establishment outside India. So he has one establishment in India, one establishment outside India, or have one establishment in a state or UT, another establishment outside that state or UT. Okay. Third is an establishment in a state or UT and any other establishment registered within that state or UT. These shall be treated as an establishment of the distinct person. What does it mean? They are saying they are treated as establishment of distinct person. And in the exemption chapter, you will understand. In the exemption chapter, you will understand that service provided or supply by one establishment to the another establishment, it will be the exempt. Second, you will understand in the definition of export of service, the fifth condition. In the definition of export of service, the fifth condition is supplier and recipient should not establishment of the distinct person. Supplier and recipient should not be the establishment of the distinct person. It means if they have the establishment of the distinct person, transaction between them cannot be considered as export of service. We'll take the example. Let me read the condition number 2, explanation number 2. And then we will also relink again with the definition of export of service. Explanation 2 says, a person carrying the business through branch or agency or representational office in any territory shall be having the establishment in that territory. Let's say Mr. John in USA has opened the subsidiary company in India. Let's say ABC John and Company, John Private Limited. It is Indian company registered separately under the Companies Act. In the GST, there was a circular which clarified that if the relation is holding and subsidiary company, if the relation is holding subsidiary, in that case, they will not be treated as establishment of the distinct person. It means they are not disqualifying the fifth condition. They are satisfying the fifth condition because they are not merely establishment of the distinct person. So if holding is doing the transaction is subsidiary or vice versa, they are treated as export of service only if the supplier is in India, assuming all other conditions are satisfied. I'm talking about the fifth condition because fifth condition is saying that supplier and the recipient is not merely establishment of the distinct person as given in the explanation 1 to section 8. So the export of service, the fifth condition, are basically linking with the explanation 1 to section 8. Let me talk about once again. If the supplier and recipient having the relation of holding and subsidiary company, then another circular clarified they are continue to satisfy the fifth condition. We cannot say the fifth condition will be breached if holding subsidiary company ka relation is there. Now, that circular has explained explanation 2 also. They are saying if you set up the office in India as a branch, representative or as an agency, so he has appointed an agent or he has opened the branch office, not separately registered in India. They have opened the branch office. In that case, what happened? The company located in USA and the branch office in India, they will treated as establishment in India. It will be treated if you open the branch agency or the representative office, then it means it will be treated that you have the establishment in India. Establishment outside India, establishment in India, you have the establishment. So therefore, fifth condition is not satisfied. So any transaction between them will not be export of service because they are not satisfying the fifth condition. Any doubt? Please ask. We can start the revision. We have the sufficient time. We can start the revision, but before that, I like to discuss one important thing with all of you. I have made one comparison chart between section 12 and section 13. This chart you should also prepare. I will arrange to upload the same, no problem. But you should also understand this type of the comparison should be there in your mind also. You do the practice, it will be clear in your mind. If branch, so let's say there is an Indian company and they have the branch outside India. So it means they have the establishment outside India. It will be treated that they have the establishment outside India. Then any transaction between them, between India and outside that branch will not be exported. Means if they distinct person, then it will not be exported. Absolutely correct. Aniket. If the relation is merely establishment of distinct person, then it is not export. Setup is the branch, representative office or agency. It will be treated. You have the establishment in that territory. Suppose I am Indian company. I have the one branch office in USA. It means Indian company and USA branch will be considered as establishment of the distinct person. So if any service is being provided by Indian company to the branch, can never be exported because fifth condition is not satisfied. Is that clear? Fine. मैं summarize करता हूं, but now I will do the summarize of as a comparison of both the section 12 and 13. So probably it will be the better for you. Not only we are revising the section 13, but by this we will revise the section 12 also. If I read the general provision are there in the section 12. What was that? B2B LOR, B2C address available, then LOR, and if not, then LOS. Try to understand. This is exactly same. If address is available, then LOR. If address is available, then LOR. Same, na? If address is not available, then LOS, location of supplier. Now, why I have covered the performance-based service? Give me 1 minute. Let me go to the next. 1 minute रुकिएगा. 12 subsection 3 is basically immovable property related, boat or vessel related service. If the property, so what is the place of the supply? What is the place of the supply? Generally, what is the place of supply? The place of the supply would be the location of property, correct? If the property is outside India, then LOR. What is the explanation? If it is more than one state, then apportion as per the contract or as per the rule 4. Here, location of the property. Now, it says that if property is in more than one state, more than one country including India, the place of the supply would be India. पूरे transaction का place of supply India हो जाएगा. Property is held in more than one country. And similarly, property is in more than one state, then it will be apportioned as per the contract, otherwise specific rule. The restaurant, beauty treatment, etc. So to that extent, we can say it is a performance-based service. So in section 12, what is the performance? Like restaurant, beauty treatment, etc. That was the performance-based service with respect to restaurant, with respect to beauty treatment, healthcare services. What was the place of the supply? For B2B or B2C, in both the cases, the place of the supply was location of performance. Here, what is the performance-based service? 13.3a and 13.3b. Subsection 3, what it says that location of goods at the time of performance would be the place of supply. Can anybody tell me for section 13? I'm asking for section 13. Primarily, I can say section 13 says that place of the performance is place of the supply, or the location of the goods is the place of the supply. Please tell me any exception. Please tell me any exception. It means the place of the performance would not be the place of the supply, rather effective use would be the place of the supply. Section 13 का कोई exception, the performance related service will not be the location of the goods, but it will be somewhere else. Please tell me the exception. Any exception? बहुत बढ़िया. Very nice. Prerna has given the answer. Very nice. Any other answer? Correct. Temporary import of the goods for repair, and after that repair, it has been exported again. Correct. Any other participant? What could be the exception to this provision that performance would not be the place of the supply, rather LOR would be the place of supply? Abdul, example, I am asking the example for performance-based service. I am asking the example for section 13, right? Your point is correct. I am not denying that. But I am currently asking example for section 13. Pooja, that is answered by the Prerna. So any other example you can quote? Can you quote any other example? आप लोग भूल गए 3 नोटिफिकेशन हमने डिस्कस किए थे. वी हैव डिस्कस 3 नोटिफिकेशन. सम फार्मास्यूटिकल रिसर्च रिलेटेड, one MRO for aircraft, and third is MRO for ships and vessels. They are saying location of recipient would be the place of the supply. Even goods are at India while performing services. They are saying LOR would be the place of supply. I hope it is clear. Correct? Now, training and performance appraisal related services. In the section 12, we have the separate provision 12 subsection 5. It talks about if it is B2B LOR, if it is B2C location of training. There is no such separate provision in section 13. But section 13 have only one provision, admission to the event or organization to the event. We have the separate provision in section 12, but we do not have the separate provision in section 13. What is that provision? In organization to the event or admission to the event, the place of the supply would be the location of event. If event is held in more than one country, including India, India would be the place of the supply. If it is more than one state, according to the contract, it will be apportioned, otherwise rule 5. So what I'm doing the comparison. So this comparison you should also remember. In this way, I will share this chart, but please ensure to revise multiple times to have the clear concept. Regarding section 12, we know that admission to the event, whether it is B2B or B2C, it is always location of event. Organization to the event, we have this B2B location of event, B2C event is actually held more than one state, apportion. Contract, if contract is silent, then rule 6 था said. Now transportation of goods. Now transportation of goods. For transportation of goods, I can say 12 subsection 8 and 13 subsection 9 both are omitted. 12 subsection 8 and 13 subsection 9 both are omitted. So it means it is covered in the default rule. LOR would be the place of supply. Transportation of passenger. If the passenger transportation service has been given, B2B, then LOR, B2C, then boarding place. And same provision has been given for section 13. Whatever the provision for B2C, same provision has been given for section 13, subsection 10. What about the service given on the board a conveyance? Same provision. 12 subsection 10, first schedule point of the departure of conveyance. Here, the first schedule point of the departure of the conveyance. Telecommunication as per chart. It's If it is a fixed landline, then the location of that installation. If it is postpaid, billing address. If it is prepaid, where the payment has given to the agent, etc. Okay. But for section 13, there is no separate provision. For banking company, financial institution, stockbroking, section 13, subsection 12 says that if the address is available, then LOR. If address is not available, then LOS. Here, it is only applicable if you give the service to the account holder. What is the service? If the account given to the account holder by the banking company, location of supplier. So if the supplier ka bank is in, if the bank is providing that supply of the service, in that case, in India, in that case, it is domestic transaction chargeable to GST at the rate of C plus S. Outside Indian party providing the service to its account holder, it will be location of supplier and place of the supply. Both are out of India. So therefore, it will be out of GST. Next is insurance. We have discussed separate provision that the place of the supply for B2B and B2C would always be same because address is available. But we do not have read any such provision in section 13. Therefore, the place of the supply in case of insurance will be determined according to the default rule, LOR. Advertisement to the central government or state government, it will be apportioned as per the contract. If the contract is silent, then rule 3. And one important point, that this is advertisement services given to the government only. Central government, state government. If it is given to the any other private person, then my place of the supply would be goes to the default provision. LOR would be the place of the supply, even though they have provided in the multiple state. Again, no provision there in the section 13, so it will covered under the default provision. So by this, we have done with this particular part. If you have any question, you may ask. हाँ प्रेरणा, ये चार्ट मैं आपको भेज दूंगा, सभी को भेज दूंगा. करेक्ट विराज. So we have 20 minutes now. Please, I'm giving you 2 minutes to all of you. If you have any question, please ask. Otherwise, I will start asking the quick round of the question answer as we did normally in every class. If you have any question, kindly ask. Any question? Fine. Fine. So let me ask the question now. XYZ Limited, India, is giving the contract to is giving the contract to Indian company located in Delhi to provide the event in London. What would be the place of supply in this case when this party raised the tax invoice to the Indian company for organizing the event? What would be the place of the supply and if possible section number? What would be the place of the supply in which section I will apply to determine the POS? My God, very nice. So, because both parties are in India, therefore, the place of the supply would be determined according to section 12, not according to section 13. It is organization of the event. So 12 subsection 7 will be applied. And if it is B2B, then LOR. And if it is B2C, then what? Suppose if it is B2B and B2C, in both the cases, it will be same or there would be the different answer. If it is B2B or B2C, in both the case, the answer would remain same, LOR, or there may be the difference if it is B2C. In both the cases, it will be LOR or answer would be different if it is B2B or B2C. In both the cases, answer would be same or it will be the different if my recipient is B2B and if it will be different if my recipient is B2C. In this example, I'm talking about. Mohammed Abdul Saab, event is held at London. Event is held at outside India. So, correct. I have received the answer. If it is B2B, then always LOR. If it is B2C, then normally the location of the event, but if the event is held outside India, then it LOR. So therefore, I can say the answer would remain same. Answer would remain same. Thank you. Try to understand this question. A is the shipping line company located in Delhi. He is raising the invoice to Mr. John USA for delivering the goods from outside India to India. Mr. A has purchased the goods from India. Mr. A is from India, purchased the goods from John, USA, and this goods has been moved by the A shipping line company who is located in Delhi, for which they is raising the tax invoice to Mr. John. Again, the question same, which section I will apply, to determine the place of the supply, 12 or 13, and what is the place of supply. कौन सा सेक्शन मैं अप्लाई करूंगा, एंड देन इस ट्रांजेक्शन का प्लेस ऑफ द सप्लाई क्या होगा, फॉर मूविंग द गुड्स फ्रॉम आउट ऑफ इंडिया टू डिलीवरिंग द गुड्स टू मिस्टर ए इंडिया. In both the in this case, what would be the place of the supply and which section I will apply to determine the place of supply. कौन सा सेक्शन में अप्लाई करूंगा पीओएस निकालने के लिए. Which section I will apply to determine the POS and what is the POS. Mr. John is from USA. A shipping line company is from India. He is providing the delivery of the goods from out of India to India. Mr. John is from USA. Goods imported by Mr. A and ABC, a shipping line company, raising the invoice to Mr. John for this transaction. क्या section apply होगा to determine the POS and what will be the POS? It is not intermediary. It cannot be intermediary, madam. This company ABC providing the service on principal to principal basis. It is not the agent. It is principal to principal and therefore it is not intermediary. The answer is, because we have discussed 13 subsection 9 has been omitted. 13 subsection 9 has been omitted. So it is LOR would be the place of the supply. ABC shipping line company to whom they are raising the invoice, foreign party. So the USA would be the place of the supply. Location of supplier is Delhi and place of the supply is USA. So it becomes interstate supply. If all conditions of export are satisfied, it is export of services. Is that clear? Next question. What is the next question? Mr. John is the agent of XYZ Limited, a manufacturing of motorbike located in Maharashtra. Mr. John is promoting the sale in USA, UK, multiple countries, for which the commission amount is $2 lakh this month. He has raised the invoice for this much of the amount. Kindly tell me the GST treatment of 2 lakh along with section and concept a little bit. Along with section and concept a little bit. (1311) is service provided on the board a conveyance. It means you are traveling and certain services has been given during the journey. Let's say you are traveling from London to India or India to London, and on that, during that journey, some airline company has provided the services. Let's say there are the boot polish services or there are iron services to your dress. So in that case, the place of the supply would be calculated according to 13 subsection 11. But this is transportation of the goods from outside India to India or India to outside India, which was earlier covered in the 13.9. After omission, it is covered in the general by default provision. That is correct, whereas I fully agree with your first part, which section will be applied. Now tell me what is the place of supply. Now tell me what is the place of supply. इस ट्रांजेक्शन का प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई क्या होगा? When John raised the invoice to XYZ for its commission income, what would be the place of supply? What would be the place of the supply? You all are requested to connect with me through LinkedIn profile. If you're connected, thank you so much. If you're not connected still, please connect with me on LinkedIn profile, CA Arun Chajar, so that I would be informed by you whenever you clear your exams and further whenever you grow your career path. Correct. It is intermediary services and the location of supplier is the place of supply. In that case, I can say the place of the supply, which is supplier, is USA, and the place of the supply would be who will pay the tax. Now, please tell me who will pay the GST. Who will pay the GST in this transaction? In this transaction, who will pay the GST? In this transaction, who will pay the GST? Answer is, in this example, location of supplier is outside India. The location of the supplier is outside India. Place of the supply is outside India. When in any transaction both are outside India, the transaction will be out of GST. Immaterial है कि LOR India में है. This is immaterial whether LOR is in India or not, because if the location of the supplier and place of the supply is outside India, it cannot be chargeable to GST at all. Thank you so much. Some question. If the event is held in India and outside India also, for which the bill is being raised by Indian party to outside India. What would be the place of the supply? If the event is held in more than one country, including India, what would be the place of the supply according to Section 13? Place of the supply for entire transaction would be India. Absolutely correct. If supplier and the recipient are merely establishment of distinct person, is that transaction export or service? Is that transaction export or service? Assume all the conditions are satisfied. If supplier and the recipient is the mere establishment of the distinct person, is that export or service? क्या वो एक्सपोर्ट और सर्विस होगा? Is that export or service? The answer is no, it cannot be export because the fifth condition does not satisfy in this case. Because the fifth condition does not satisfy in this case. Absolutely correct. If you are having the relation of holding and subsidiary, will the fifth condition satisfied? Will it be export or service? If Indian company is providing the service to its holding company, will that service be export or service if all the other conditions are satisfied? अगर होल्डिंग सब्सिडरी या सब्सिडरी होल्डिंग को सर्विस प्रोवाइड करती है तो क्या वो इंडिया है और एक आउटसाइड इंडिया है, क्या वो ट्रांजेक्शन एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस का होगा? Will that transaction be export or service? If supplier is in India as the subsidiary company raising the invoice to the holding company in USA, will that transaction be treated as export or not? Correct. The answer is no. It is no, sir. It is a holding subsidiary relation. We have discussed that they will not disqualify the fifth condition because they are registered under the India as a separate statute, separate private company. So therefore, they will be the different person. They will not be the establishment of the distinct person. So उनके बीच में transaction will continue to be export. Any other question from my side? The today class is completed. It's over to you for 2 minutes. If you have any question, you may ask. Otherwise, we will conclude our today class. You have any question? Please ask. Pooja, holding and subsidiary are not related, not distinct person, and therefore it is export of service. If you have opened that branch agency representative office, then it will be treated that you have the separate establishment in that India, and therefore it is not export or import. Import में नहीं है, sorry. Import में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. एक्सपोर्ट नहीं माना जाएगा अगर आपने कोई ब्रांच ऑफिस आउट ऑफ इंडिया ओपन कर लिया या रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफिस ओपन कर लिया या कोई आपने एजेंसी बना ली and then you are providing the service to that particular person at branch, then in that case the transaction are being happening between distinct person and therefore it is not export. रिलेटेड पार्टी तो है पूजा, रिलेटेड पार्टी तो है बट एक्सपोर्ट माना जाएगा. एक्सपोर्ट माना जाएगा. ओनली क्वेश्चन may come in the only question may come on the valuation. That's it. Deemed distinct topic, where it is? Is it in this chapter? Deemed distinct is it in this chapter, Prerna? इस चैप्टर में है. कौन सी चैप्टर की बात करें, एक बार मुझे बता दीजिए. Hope you all are connected with me LinkedIn profile. If not, kindly connect with me. Purpose is only I like to understand from, I like to know, I like the information from each and every student that you all have cleared the exam in the first attempt, CA final. Question. So Prerna, you have to revise. I am asking this chapter only. Only I have just brought one condition. I have just compared one condition. So we were discussing schedule 8 explanation 1, and this particular part is written in the export of service. So I have interlinked that. That's it. But if I would be the faculty for export import chapter, then I will definitely explain. I will definitely explain and recompare this particular part again with the section 8. Thank you very much. Good night to all of you. We'll meet in the next class. Probably now there is a gap for some classes. I think faculty is changed, and I will be at the end of this month. Probably I will be end of this month again. Thank you very much. Good night to all of you. अशोक सर, आप